Hi, I'm Dave Weiss from amuckarts.com. I am an art minister and I'm a pastor, and I just want to talk a little bit about art ministry. I love art ministry. But I always say that I wasn't always a Christian. I have always been an artist, haven't always been a Christian, certainly haven't always been a pastor. And how those two came together was kind of cool. See, I ended up in the church when I was 22 years old for the first time, and the reason I ended up there was very simple. A girl invited me. That's the only reason I was there. But these people met me right where I was, and they accepted me. And before long, I wanted to be in church. And the problem was I was learning and I was growing, but there was one thing that was missing, and that was I really didn't feel like I fit. Like I had a place where I could serve. And one day my pastor came up to me and he asked me if I would paint a backdrop for Vacation Bible School. He had heard I was an artist and he wanted to put me to work. Well, this was something that was just so cool for me because it's such a simple job, right? But it showed me that there was a place for me. It showed me that there was a place where I could fit and I could do something, I could serve. It was wonderful. My other problem was this. I was trying to be a professional artist. And I was sort of in this place where my art was over here and my faith was over here. And other than those backdrops, they really didn't cross over a whole lot, right? And I was trying so hard to become a professional artist that my faith life was really suffering. And eventually I realized I was in idolatry to my work. And one day at a big worship gathering, I came to discover that I had to lay my art down. I had to lay it aside and give my life to God. And the very day that I did that was the day I got my call to ministry. And I started working with the youth at the church. Now, I wanted to teach them, and I wanted to really take them deep. But I started with basic Bible stories, and what I realized was a lot of these kids, even though they'd been in church their whole lives, they didn't know some of these basic stories, and it scared me. I thought, how can they be in church for this long, so much of their lives, and not know these stories? And what was really frustrating and scary for me was, could I make my teaching stick? And that's what I started to pray. Lord, can you help me make my teaching stick? What can I do to make my teaching stick? And I just kept hearing the same thing, use art. Well, by then, I'll admit, I was a little bit afraid of art because I had made a pretty big mess of my life pursuing my art career. And I kept trying to push it down and do something else, but it kept coming back to use art, use art. Finally, one day at Vacation Bible School, because that's where God usually seemed to get through to me back then. My son was in the skits at Vacation Bible School. He was 4 years old. He was playing the town crier that year. And he came out with great gusto. He loved this. He ended up becoming an actor in community theater and things like that. He's always been very theatrical. And he was giving the memory verse. On this particular night, the memory verse was, each one should use whatever gifts he has received to serve others. 1 Peter 4:10. And I know it was the voice coming from my little boy, who's 28 now, but he was a little boy back then. But it sure sounded like the voice of God. And that night, a flood of ideas came, and I started to write them up. In my day job, I was learning to build websites, and so took these things that I was creating, and I would put them up on the web. People started contacting me, and they wanted to learn how they could use art, and it became this really cool thing. I wanted to start a ministry at my church, doing art ministry, but it seemed like the only one who was really interested in doing the leadership part was me. And so eventually I felt the Lord leading me to go out into the church, to take this gift I had been given and use it to communicate the gospel. So I started speed painting and traveling around and doing stuff like that. But there was one thing that always got to me, because my life's been radically changed by two things. First of all, someone introduced me to Jesus. They cared enough to introduce me to Jesus. That's first and foremost. It always will be. But the other thing was this. Someone found my gift and showed me how I could use it for the glory of God. That changed everything. And the thing I'd like to share with you today is that's still the case. There's a song that I loved when I was growing up, song by the band Styx, from their Grand Illusion album. It's called Superstar. No, I don't think I'm a superstar. Work with me here for a minute. There's this one line that says, and don't think I can't hear you calling from the shadow of the 14th row, because I'm at the same place. I was at the same place you are many years ago, that kind of thing, right? And that's what I do. It's not that I think I'm a superstar or anything like that, but I'm out there looking to the 14th row. I'm looking for that person who is in the church, but doesn't necessarily feel like they fit. And I want to show them by using the gifts God has given me that there is a place where they fit, and there is a reason God gave them the gift He's given them. To me, for me, that's the essence of art ministry. I want to help people to find their gift and show them how to use it to glorify God. If I can do that, all's good. Guys, I really hope I make it back in time to share in this with you today. But if not, I hope this blessed somebody. Take care.